MJ Freeway is the industry-leading software consulting and data solution for cannabis businesses, processing $5 billion in cannabis sales transactions and serving clients in every regulated market in the U.S., Canada, Europe, and Australia. With that, I will turn it over to Tahir Rahmatullah, CFO of MTech, and Jessica Billingsley, co-founder and CEO of MJ Freeway.
Thank you. Big audience here. Get excited. So to start off, I want to take you guys through a little bit of the process and what MTech is, since I'm sure for a lot of people the concept of a SPAC might be a little bit new. So the MJ Freeway MTech merger, we believe, is going to create a very powerful technology platform that is going to be able to service the global cannabis community throughout the supply chain. MTech itself, MTech Acquisition Corp, is the first U.S.-based SPAC, which stands for Special Purpose Acquisition Company. SPACs are essentially shell companies that you take public, and then with the sole purpose of taking a private company public through a transaction, which is generally a merger or an acquisition. MTech, we raised $50 million in January. We IPO'd on the NASDAQ January 30th, and then from there we had an 18-month timeline in order to do a transaction with a cannabis company. Our focus was to take an ancillary cannabis company public, and we had a specific focus on technology and scalable platforms that we thought would be industry leading and then be able to continue to grow from there. We believe that the merger of MTech and MJ Freeway is going to create probably the best capitalized technology platform in the world, and we think it'll be able to continue to be an industry leader on a global scale. Jessica will get into a little bit more about MJ Freeway, but I'll talk a little bit about the transaction itself and how we think that this entity will move forward. So just to kind of go through, MJ Freeway already exists. The platform is there. It's a commercial ERP product, which we'll get into a little bit more on the nitty-gritty of that. But it serves the entire supply chain, and there are no other companies that are able to do that. It's compliance tracking, it's module-driven, API-driven, and so we're able to utilize that platform to serve a lot of different companies with the additional financial resources, which pro forma at $60 million. We believe that the company will be able to grow pretty dramatically, especially compared to other platforms that are out there. We'll want to accelerate organic growth, which we'll get into a little bit more about what types of companies may make sense for MJ Freeway to continue to expand into. And we believe that also there's an opportunity to pursue a pretty aggressive acquisition strategy. So looking at how fragmented the industry is right now, how many different opportunities there are to reach economies of scale and kind of broaden the product offering that we give to all of our customers. And the end result, we believe, will be the leading technology platform in the industry. So some investment highlights, which we've already kind of touched on. Obviously, cannabis is spreading across the globe pretty dramatically. It's projected to be $57 billion in 2027. There are a lot of different numbers out there, so pick your range on what you think that's going to be. We believe the MJ Freeway and the future platforms that it's going to continue to build into will be the only one that's able to service the global industry. MJ Freeway is already a market leader. It's tracked $10 billion of sales and is in 29 of the 31 legal states, as well as, is it 11 countries? I should know 11 total countries. I should know this better by now. MJ Freeway is the platform that can support all different kinds of businesses within the industry, all across different verticals. And as the industry continues to move in the direction where you have, thank you. Thank you. Please. I was waiting. Thank you, George. It's good to have you here. The business itself has grown quite dramatically over the last couple of years, 155% revenue growth between 2017 and 2018. The company has built the business so it's very scalable and adjustable depending on what the business is, which we think is really important. And it has first mover advantage. It's one of the earliest platforms in the space. It is the earliest platform in the space, invented seed to sale tracking. And we believe that history and the ability to adjust with various businesses is going to continue to be a competitive advantage of the business. At a high level, just from the investment standpoint, MTech itself is a NASDAQ-listed entity trading under the ticker MTEC. When the transaction closes, there will be a new holding company that we'll announce at a later date, of which the sole entity will be MJ Freeway, and it'll be a new ticker that trades under that. The rationale for it, as I've kind of explained, is that we thought that there was a significant opportunity for this platform to continue to grow and service the industry, and having access to cash as well as a public currency would allow for much more robust M&A activity in the short term. And that's something that the industry kind of lacks right now, is having that access and ability to grow at a pretty quick pace. The transaction was a $60 million enterprise value, $70 million equity valuation with $10 million in cash. MJ Freeway recently completed a Series C $10 million raise a couple weeks ago, and so that was factored into this. And we think that the platform is now built for aggressive growth, and we'll be pursuing that in the coming months. Very high-level overview of the financials, market cap at about 145. The existing MJ Freeway shareholders will be about 48% of the company, and MTech shareholders will be about 52%. Here's our lovely board. So it's a combination of MJ Freeway, current board members and investors, as well as MTech. So we have a combination of people who have been in the cannabis industry, have been investing in the cannabis industry, as well as tech investors, people from more traditional venture capital and public markets and private markets that are outside of cannabis. So we think it's a pretty interesting group of people who are going to be able to accelerate the growth of MJ Freeway and continue to assist in M&A activity. Now I'll turn it over to Jessica to talk more about MJ Freeway.
Thank you. It's very exciting. Okay, so first, I think everyone in this room is familiar with these stats. We won't spend a ton of time on them, but there are very few industries in the world where you can put up a bar chart like that moving into the future. So we all picked the right industry to work in, y'all. Let's keep it going. And as Tahira mentioned, we are a leader in the industry. We actively participate in lobbying and as members of industry advocacy organizations. I serve on the board of NCIA, and MJ Freeway was in fact a founding member of NCIA back in 2011. And part of that is in ensuring that as that graph that we showed previously, I'm going to go back if I can do that, there we go, that participating in that advocacy allows us to be a part of continuing to grow this graph, continuing into the future. And as Tahira also mentioned, we pioneered seed-to-sale tracking. We invented the concept, and it's still a big challenging problem to solve. There are virtually no competitors that truly compete across that entire supply chain, from cultivation to manufacturing to distribution to retail. And our new ERP does all of that, as well as offer true business intelligence insights across state lines, country lines, and with multi-currencies as well. So currently, we operate in, this is our footprint, and we operate in 29 of the 31 legal U.S. states, as well as the District of Columbia. And we also have the government tracking systems in the Commonwealth of Pennsylvania and the state of Washington. And we currently operate globally. We are the only cannabis technology company to have a true global footprint, serving clients in 11 of 13 countries with legal cannabis. And this is our business model. So as you can see, commercial software and government software make up the bulk of our business, but we also have a consulting arm that supports the commercial and government software arms of the business. And to date, we have processed over $10 billion in legal, medical, and recreational cannabis transactions for thousands of businesses and governments. We are the first and only cannabis-specific ERP, and our goal with this transaction is to leverage first-to-market and market leader momentum. And what's great and interesting to note about our current penetration and how this sets us up for our future vision is that we are pretty evenly distributed across the entire supply chain. So as you look at our market share, we've got a little over 30% of the market in each of the main buckets of the supply chain. So cultivation, manufacturing, and retail. And just a quick note on our government contracts. And I want to highlight our Pennsylvania contract. So what's unique about the Pennsylvania contract is that it specifies the licensee's business management system, and all operators in Pennsylvania must use MJ platform. So that provides us with commercial upsell opportunities, and it also provides us with the opportunity for multi-state operators who must use MJ platform in Pennsylvania to get exposure to that product, and they're more likely to use us elsewhere as well. And I just want to talk a little bit about our growth opportunity. So we see our growth in a few different buckets. We want to make sure that we are capitalizing on new large emerging markets. And of course, we know, and we've been paying a lot of attention to the new emerging adult use markets in California, Massachusetts, and Canada. But also there are some large emerging medical markets in Pennsylvania, Ohio, and Florida. And you know, we see these stats all the time. I feel that they could be dated already, but there's plenty of new laws and new opportunities, and we expect to see emerging market opportunity for some period of time. We also have the largest and most statistically relevant set of cannabis business data, and we are very interested in growing our data analytics brand beyond our existing client base. We are looking at consolidation, so these operations that are operating at scale to compete in a maturing market or who are really working on unique brands, that's where MJ Platform comes in as the only cannabis ERP with true multi-state, multi-country, multi-language, multi-currency capabilities. And with the increase to our balance sheet that this transaction provides with that $60 million, we have the opportunity to leverage our reach through some strategic acquisition as well. So we're going to be looking to expand our set of technology services and also to acquire some streams of complementary revenue. And finally, as a true platform, we're very interested in leveraging network effects, the network effects of a platform, both internal through making it easier for people who are all operating on our platform to do business with each other, but also through the external network effects of our MJ Freeway partner app store and all of the third-party integrators that are integrating against MJ platform. So, why are we the right people to execute this consolidation strategy? We believe that MJ Freeway is the only offering that offers the depth and breadth of a true end-to-end cannabis business solution. So as you look at this ERP wheel of software and you look at this competitive analysis chart, you'll see that there's no one else that operates in every piece of this business, and that really sets us up as the right consolidator. And we have a proven history of execution. If you look at what we've been able to do in the past and you look at our past couple years, we're only going to grow this bigger, better, faster over the next couple years with our new supercharged strategy. And with that, I think we're going to turn it over to some questions. So that is our revenue ending June 30th, 2018, which is our new fiscal year end. Mm-hmm. So that's historic, not our projection. Sure.
Sure. So just to back up, I think you already were bought. You want me to buy another one? So it was a total of $57.5 million was raised. It was originally $50 million. We executed the green shoe, so it was upsized to $57.5. That money all rolls to MJ Freeway's balance sheet, and all of the equity is rolling, so no cash is coming off the table. So in combination with MJ Freeway's recent Series C $10 million raise, that cash will be on the balance sheet. There is some that comes out of it for various fees and transaction fees. Exactly. So the way that the SPAC works is that once the transaction has closed, and there's the new public company at the top, Pubco is what we're calling it right now, and MJ Freeway is the sole asset, MTech dissolves. And so right now, the way that it will look is that it's Pubco, MJ Freeway, MTech, but really that will go away and everything will sit on MJ Freeway's balance sheet. And then it's off to the races.
Off to the race. Going on 10. Well, thank you so much. And, as you mentioned, as first to market, we've also been first to stumble and certainly have had our share of ups and downs. But I'm just so proud to say that my team has taken each of those challenges as they have arisen, and we have looked at them as an opportunity to grow, to persevere, to band together, and to continue to serve our industry better. And really, it's made us stronger as a result. And we're very excited about the coming opportunity.
What is your $14 million time horizon for Pennsylvania? The point is that 3 years, 4 years, 5 years, what is the value of that over time?
Sure. So that's a 5-year contract. And we also have additional service that falls on top of that in the form of change requests or change orders that increases that revenue to some degree. We certainly, Leaf Data Systems is actually input agnostic in that we can take input from any type of, whether it's barcode or tax stamp or RFID. There's also really this interesting company we've been speaking to lately that does nano spray technology that would be very inexpensive compared to the RFID tags. And so we look at Leaf Data Systems as providing a full track and trace and not necessarily monetizing one type of tagging methodology. Thank you.
Always a good option.
So, to date, we have had the right to anonymize, aggregate, and monetize our data since inception. And built in 2010, we chose to build as a cloud-based system, hosted system back in 2010, which was a pretty bold choice at the time, and most software were still not doing that. And even a couple years later, one of our competitors that was able to still be around today built them as a client-server model. So because of that, it's really given us the only and the most robust set of statistically relevant data for the cannabis industry over what is going on, now it's been an 8-year span of time. And with that, we are looking very strategically at a buy versus build strategy of, do we build a data brand or a data product offering to use that data, or do we partner with an existing data brand and tuck them in as an acquisition, potential acquisition to move forward with monetizing the data? I do want to comment that we do have a current product that is a benchmarking product, an aggregated data product that we provide back to our existing client base. So it was very important to us as a philosophy to make sure that we give value back to our clients first. So we do have that product currently. Sure. So first, MJ Platform, our Generation 2 product, is built on an inherently more secure architecture. It's built on a true microservice architecture with a separated front end and back end, and that inherently makes the product more secure. We also employ some of the highest levels of data security that are offered with Amazon Web Services, which is where we're hosted now. And additionally, we engage with third-party experts that perform penetration tests and help us to ensure that we're constantly meeting the ever-evolving requirements of security in today's landscape. Sure. So I think this is a very interesting question, and I do think that blockchain has some interesting applications for cannabis. I actually wrote a blog about it, about blockchain and cryptocurrency and how it relates to cannabis. You can find it at mjfreeway.com blog. Little plug there. But just briefly, why blockchain will not replace a transactional database like MJ Platform. There are two pieces to that. The first is the peer-to-peer requirement. So I don't know if anybody else in this room is old enough to remember peer-to-peer music or Napster. I'm dating myself. However, that is a key component to blockchain. When you add a piece of data to the chain, it has to then be peer-reviewed. And the reality of that for a transactional database, when you actually need to make a sale to someone, is that that can't operate in real time. And so although I think it has some very interesting applications for the future from a government or regulatory or system of record point of view, at this moment in time, it's not a business solution. I think that's true. I think that there will have to be some governmental authority that requires that. And then all of the peers, such as I suppose MJ Freeway, would have to sign on then to participate in peer review. There are a lot of complexities to it, but I do think that it is emerging technology that will continue to be iterated, and we'll see some interesting uses. Sure. So we currently operate in 11 of 13 countries that have legal cannabis, and we are very interested in the emerging global economy and making sure that we're continuing to serve that emerging global economy. So MJ Platform is multi-language. Now we're available in 3 languages, and we're looking to expand that language set, as well as with the buyer build with our data analytics brand, look at emerging markets that are still deciding whether they're going to get into cannabis, because that's an interesting opportunity for data. Thank you. We're excited about the opportunity. So I'm just going to repeat the question to make sure I understood it. So the question is for growers or dispensaries, is our revenue based on the transaction? Is that the question? The volume. Okay. Sure. So currently, MJ Platform is a feature set, user set, and platform-based fee system. So it is not tied to volume per se. We charge by facility and then by number of users, and then there's some additional, platform access fees or different levels of service that are available. although we do have a small volume discount program. I don't know if am I allowed to answer that? So I'll say the Commonwealth, actually, the Commonwealth of Pennsylvania is our largest customer. Well, hang on. Actually, the answer would be Washington after Pennsylvania. Both the government contracts, singly in and of themselves, by definition, make them our largest clients. So the Commonwealth of Pennsylvania, then the state of Washington, and then there are commercial clients as well. Sure. So what is the problem that we were trying to solve with MJ Platform and with this true Generation 2 seed to sale product is that interoperability between all of the different pieces of the supply chain, right? So to make sure that we are solving, especially not only the compliance pieces of tracking, which we have had, since inception and with our legacy product, but now, as the cannabis industry matures, as it becomes more competitive, as the global economy emerges, how do those businesses get the business insight they need to operate in a competitive marketplace? So, for instance, if we look at a cultivation operation, maybe strain A is selling for 10% more than strain B, but it costs 50% more to produce. It's actually a less competitive product for you to do. So those are the types of business insights that MJ Platform provides to every piece of the supply chain, and that's what our clients need to operate in an ever more competitive marketplace. Sure. Absolutely, and we do have some third-party integrators that perform that specific piece of functionality and then provide it to banks. Additionally, we have a set of what we call FinCEN reports within MJ Platform that provide that level of visibility or comfort, if you will, that our clients can take that set of reports and give it to their financial institution, and they can have comfort that they are operating in compliance from a seed to sale point of view. And Ike, I think you had a question. Ike's on our team. Sure. So I mentioned it in our growth opportunities slide, but in addition to the business insights we offer within the platform, we also think a lot about the network effects of a true platform versus pipeline software, in that you want to make sure that you're offering more value and to anyone who is using your platform, so providing all of the connectors between people on the platform to make it more sticky if everyone's using it. And additionally, we do have an app store and a partner development console for third-party integrators to integrate to the platform and provide more pieces of value and functionality, and we have a number of integrators that are already integrated. Okay, yeah. So we do provide that suite of FinCEN reports, and that piece of tying the seed to sale tracking and tying the reports so that they can provide that to their financial institutions. We are not specifically working with banks beyond that. However, I wonder, Tahir, if you want to speak a little bit to one of our integration, some of our integration partners and how they handle that piece of things.
Yeah, so there are a variety of platforms that are out there now that kind of assist in that middle point from whatever your tracking system is to the bank that allow for compliant information. So auditing software that you can use on a regular basis that really assists the banks. The struggle that banks have is that they feel like they don't have enough transparency into the business and the transactions that are occurring for a business. And banks are archaic in the way that they operate. It's just they don't have the systems that can kind of handle that. And so allowing a platform to come in and really provide all of that information, which in conjunction with the reporting that MJ Freeway is able to provide, kind of gives those solutions. And a lot of those platforms integrate really nicely with MJ Freeway. And I know that you guys are working on a couple of those because companies like Simplifia and other brands like that have that audit capability. The trickiness with those types of platforms is that they have to be state specific. Every state has its own regulations. You have to build a separate kind of set of rules. And so that's why getting there is very difficult, but to your point, when you originally said stickiness, there's a lot of stickiness with those platforms as well, which is why they make really great partners, because with the combination of the two, it provides a lot of transparency, but also it's difficult for businesses to move away from them as well.
And then you had a question.
Do you want to address the shell part first?
Yeah, you do.
So so the question was, he's asking about the structure of the shell and MJ Freeway and the technology component. So we'll split that up into two parts. So the shell now is what MTech is, which is the company that has acquired MJ Freeway in order for MJ Freeway to go public. So MTech is a NASDAQ listed shell company that MJ Freeway will now be the sole asset of. And once the transaction is complete in a couple of months, because it goes through a closing period, MJ Freeway will essentially take over that shell and be the entire company, and then we'll follow a M&A strategy. And then I'll let you address the technology part of it.
Sure. So I think the technology question was, how much of our tech do we do in-house? Okay. So we have all of our software is hosted, and we host on Amazon Web Services as well as Amazon Gov Cloud for our government track and trace systems. And internally, we have a very robust product development team. We have all North American-based client services, support and implementation folks. And we also work with a long-term contractor on some of our engineering development. Well, so first, I think the question is around new competition and more people calling themselves seed to sale and what that means. I'll mention again, if you looked at our competitive analysis slide there are very few companies that actually operate in all of those streams of revenue. And I see the new entrants and new competition as really a sign of how much market opportunity there is. And I think that what we've seen historically, we've of course been around for a long time now, going on 9 years, and we've seen a whole lot of competitors come and go. I think we'll continue to see some of that. Will we see, some people have a great unique product offering or a piece of functionality that they do really well? I'm sure we will see that. And we'll be looking to anything like that as a potential opportunity or potential acquisition target. So I'm very interested in what we're seeing. And also, I'll just comment that seed to sale, truly serving that whole supply chain and all of the pieces of it, is something that very few companies actually do. So I think, so the question is whether we're locked in with a state for a period in time or whether the contracts are renewed. So I just want to separate, because we do have two lines of business. We have two technology products. We have Leaf Data Systems for government agencies, as well as MJ Platform for the operators. And I think he was asking more about the MJ Platform side of things, which is for operators, the state contracts are generally multi-year and they're locked in. And for our commercial product, we don't do anything with less than a 1-year contract because it's true ERP software.
I will be on the board, and we'll do whatever Jessica tells me to do.
Is that the way the board works? Or I feel like the
Just
board
kidding.
usually, you know.
I will tell Jessica what to do. So we'll focus a lot more on the M&A side of the kind of future growth. Scott Sozio and myself, who's the CEO of MTech, and Doug Rothschild, who is the advisor to MTech, the three of us kind of have more of a background in M&A, public markets, and Scott and I have been in cannabis for quite some time, and so that's a part where we feel we can contribute strongly to kind of understand the global market in a way, as MJ Freeway is very busy continuing to build the business and focus on the technology element. We can add in that additional layer of understanding some of the other businesses and opportunities globally. Thanks, George.
And I'll just speak to the board as a whole. I feel very fortunate to have what will be a very high-functioning, highly collaborative board moving forward. It's a privilege.
Be nice. Be nice, George. Okay, we'll talk later. No, I mean, it'll function as any other entity does. I mean, obviously, the initial concern has always been, will NASDAQ take a U.S. company that is affiliated with the cannabis industry? And that's why, for MTech specifically, we wanted to focus on the ancillary industry. We also felt like that industry has been overlooked. And it's very robust in the U.S., but we constantly see, cultivation LPs in Canada as being those public entities. But, NASDAQ itself they will say that they're industry agnostic. And so once you're listed, you can use your currency how you want to. But what you need to continue to be careful about is, are you ever engaging in something that is considered aiding and abetting to a federally illegal business? And that's kind of the nuance of that. You have to understand how those pieces work and how they're viewed by counsel at NASDAQ. For MTech or because Sure. So for MTech itself, we had about $4.5 million in order to, from start to finish, really. The sponsor team for MTech put in $2.25 million, which was used for all the listing fees, legal services, underwriting fee, working capital as you're going through evaluating companies. So that was the initial cost, and then as we get through closing, we've estimated it'll be about 4.5 once you get through all the lawyers and all the auditors, so around that. So super cheap. Lawyers don't cost anything, and we have a lot of it.
I think about that all the time. There was one phone call we were on where the attorneys got into a debate about whether to put a period somewhere, and I almost lost my mind. I thought about all of the dollars that was costing us. This is a very expensive period.
But I will also say that we've had good fortune of having very good lawyers on all sides that have been, integral in this process. But also it's a complicated process, right? You have a SPAC structure. You have a cannabis ancillary business. It's the first time there's been a SPAC, a U.S.-listed SPAC that focuses on cannabis. It's the first time an ancillary business in the U.S. is going onto a major exchange. A lot of nuances to think about, and nobody's done it before. So you need all that guidance, and we've been very lucky to have that.
It's true. They have been wonderful. They truly very, very smart, dedicated, bright people. Also, in addition to being expensive. How have we handled taxes? Oh, so how we track taxes within MJ platform. Sure. So, that's one of the core pieces of what we do. So we are the backbone of the industry in that we enable regulation and compliance and taxation. And so we have to make sure that we are structured such that any piece of cannabis taxation can be applied, whether there's an excise tax in one area, but this group is exempt, and that may vary from county lines, city lines, state lines, but that's core to what we do. We really see compliance as table stakes to what we do.
Thank you.
Okay. All right, thanks for
Greg.
having us.